Hi, it's Alex from Laughing Place, and you are watching Laughing Place on Location. This episode, we're here at the Sundance Film Festival 2025. As an EPCOTian, there's nothing I love more than a festival. The Sundance Film Festival can trace its roots back to 1978 when Robert Redford co-founded the festival. The name Sundance comes from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
You've never met a pair like Butch and Sundance.
Which was released by 20th Century Fox before Disney bought it.
I want to go to the festival.
You wish to go to the festival. You wish to go to the festival. The festival.
It's the first day of the festival, and one of Disney's 2 entries into the festival this year is happening tonight, the documentary from Questlove about Sly and the Family Stone. So I'm about to get in line. I can't wait.
SLY created this unique space.
If you were a fan of Summer of Soul, Questlove's first film, which won an Oscar and premiered here at Sundance when it was virtual, you're probably really going to like SLY Lives. I will say I obviously knew the big hits from Sly and the Family Stone, but I didn't know much about the band or the history of how they came together, the time and place, what the cultural attitude was like. And so I found that to be a really fascinating component of the documentary.
Guys and girls and black and white, so you get all that input.
They sounded like nothing else sounds.
Questlove was at the screening, after which there was a Q&A, and he had this to say.
We can either be superhuman or a credit to our race, or we are subhuman, and kind of you're either +2 or -2, and just to get to that middle ground zero space, that's the struggle where we're at, which is like, are we truly relatable, or are we truly equal? Do I see you as how I see myself? And so I would like to think that's where Sly was going, because the fact that he's just so free to make funky nursery rhyme songs, and also be as esoteric or grandiose or as talented as anybody that you would put up against him. He's trying to cover all those bases, and I just think now is the time where we're really comfortable with talking about our mental health and things that we normally wouldn't talk about.
And that is coming to Hulu from Onyx Collective on February 13th, so it's just around the corner. I recommend checking that out. And again, that's one of Disney's 2 entries into the festival. The other entry that Disney has going in is from National Geographic. It's a documentary called Sally, about Sally Ride. Now that film is premiering later in the festival. I'm going to catch that one virtually, and so you will be able to see my review of Sally on laughingplace.com, and that's actually true of all of the films I'm seeing here at Sundance. The reviews that I write are available on Laughing Place, so if you want to hear my opinion, by all means, go and check that out. If not, no worries, I don't care. I also want to point out that in addition to Disney submitting films to the Sundance Film Festival, which they've done every year for a long time, there is also quite a bit of Disney sponsorship at the event. The press received bags that had Hulu sponsorship. Actually, one of the films that I went to had an ad for Hulu in front of the film, promoting all of the previous Sundance Film Festival entries that are available to stream on that platform. And then also different Disney brands sponsor the festival, including the Walt Disney Company globally, Walt Disney Pictures, Searchlight, and Onyx Collective. So there's quite a bit of Disney presence at the festival. Before SLY Lives, I saw another film in Park City called Speak. It's produced by Josh Gad, who everybody in the Disney fan community knows as the voice of Olaf.
Hi, I'm Olaf, and I like warm hugs.
He's also a really big deal in the Broadway community, was part of the original Broadway cast of The Book of Mormon.
Does it mean no worries for the rest of our days?
He gave a little conversation about why he wanted to become involved. The main reason was he participated in this same oratory competition when he was in high school, and the competition itself has a lot of big names who have come out of the program, which includes Brad Pitt, Oprah Winfrey, and Ketanji Brown Jackson.
It was fun, and it taught me so much about communication, so much about putting thoughts together, so much about making a point, so much about fact, fact checking. That wasn't something I thought would go extinct after a while. The urgency of this now has a whole new meaning. So when they brought me this project and I saw you guys doing what you were doing, and it's so much more potent and powerful what you are doing than what I was doing. I did a speech about the nature of comedy as therapy. I did a speech about taking chances. I had the luxury of doing speeches. You guys are doing like world-saving stuff. And that is incredible. And that is so necessary. And so I knew I had to be a part of it.
The film follows 5 students as they go through the 2024 championship. It follows their journey from the preliminary competitions in the fall all the way through the nationals in the spring. And along the way, you get to understand what motivates these kids to want to do this oratory competition, what informs their speech, what they're passionate about, and you really see that all pay off in the end. In some ways, it reminded me of a National Geographic documentary, which also recently got a series component called Science Fair. The only reason I think Disney might not be interested in acquiring Speak is that one of the students does use the F-bomb fairly frequently, so it has a language component to it. Other than that, though, it's very wholesome, and certainly they could get around that with censorship if they wanted to get this down to like a TV-14 rating or something like that. So Speak felt very much in the National Geographic brand, and that's really my strategy when I come to Sundance. I'm first and foremost trying to see all of Disney's entries into the festival, but also trying to hedge my bets on what Disney might be acquiring. Last year, one of the big acquisitions that Disney made was A Real Pain, which has already earned them Golden Globes. They've got Oscar nominations. That's now streaming on Hulu too. So A Real Pain was here at the Sundance Film Festival last year as an independent entry, and Disney bought it. The version of the Sundance Film Festival that most people are familiar with takes place in Park City, which I went to for the first day because that's the first opportunity to see any of the films. But it is much less expensive to do the bulk of the festival in Salt Lake City, which is what I choose to do. One of the reasons I prefer to do most of my Sundance Film Festival time in Salt Lake City is that the theaters here in Salt Lake City have indoor spaces for queuing. At Park City, almost everything is an outdoor tent using space heaters. They're often not big enough for the full queue, so unless you get there over an hour in advance of your showing, you are stuck standing out in the cold, and as you know, it gets very cold in Salt Lake City in the winter. Obviously, this is a high tourist area for skiing, and there's a lot of snow. Thankfully, not so much in Salt Lake City. You can see a little bit of it in the mountains over there, but here in the city, there's actually no snow. So that's another perk of doing your Sundance Film Festival time in Salt Lake City rather than Park City. I'm heading to the theater right now, the Rose Wagner, to see a film called Jimpa. It stars John Lithgow and Olivia Colman. I'm a big fan of both of their acting, so I'm looking forward to this one. I'll let you know how it is. I'm back for seeing Jimpa, which I thought was really sweet. It's directed by Sophia Hyde, who previously had Good Luck to You, Leo Grand in the Sundance Film Festival, which was purchased by Searchlight Pictures, part of the Walt Disney Company. The title, Jimpa, comes from John Lithgow's character. He did not want the title Grandpa from his grandchild, so he instead asked to be called Jimpa. So Jim, Pa as in Grandpa, put together Jimpa.
Elephant. Ella if. Rhino. I know. If I know.
Olivia Colman's character, Hannah, is pretty much the main character. This film is semi-autobiographical, so it's definitely a drama, but it has enough comedy peppered throughout, and honestly, John Lithgow and Olivia Colman are just perfect for that balance between the two, between comedy and drama. I just got out of the screening of Pee-wee as himself. That is obviously not a Disney movie. It's going to be an HBO Max 4-hour documentary in 2 parts about the life of Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman. Now, it didn't touch on at all the Star Tours component of his career.
Brakes! Where are the brakes?
It wasn't even a footnote mentioned. However, there was quite a bit of Disney in it, particularly in his upbringing, how shows like the Mickey Mouse Club and his love of Hayley Mills as an actress really inspired him. And one of the interesting things was that the Pee-wee's Big Adventure movie, which was obviously directed by Tim Burton, but it began its germination process as sort of an attempt to make a Pollyanna remake, which was news to me. That's a concept that they eventually abandoned. Parts of it were resurrected in the second Pee-wee movie. That was wild to me. I had no clue. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s and have nostalgia for Pee-wee's Playhouse, I highly recommend seeing Pee-wee as himself. I just saw a film called Prime Minister. It was a documentary about Jacinda Ardern, the 40th Prime Minister of New Zealand, who broke a lot of ground, did a lot of amazing things, led the country through COVID, and similar to America, faced a very similar backlash to how the country handled the pandemic, but it was also a very science-based approach that saved a lot of lives. It was a really interesting documentary. I initially thought this might be something that National Geographic might have an interest in. After seeing it, I'm not so sure. When it comes to horror films, I'm pretty much a baby. It's not a genre that I particularly seek out, but in the Sundance Film Festival, they have a category called Midnight, which is mostly their horror genre, and I did select a film this year because Disney has bought some horror films from Sundance before. Fresh was one of them, the Hulu hit. And so this one that I saw was called Rabbit Trap, and I was a little bit interested in it because it had some kind of fairy tale folklore elements in it. I will say it really wasn't a horror film. It's a very weird psychological thriller, but there were no jump scares. Nothing was particularly gory. And so this was definitely my speed for the midnight genre. It's always a tell at Sundance Film Festival when a film doesn't get an applause at the end. Usually there's at least a polite applause. When Rabbit Trap, when the credits started to roll, at my screening at least, it was silence, and everyone just got up and left. I just saw my last in-person screening of the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. It was called Come See Me in the Good Light, a documentary about famous poet Andrea Gibson and their partner Megan Foley. One of the cool things about coming to the Sundance Film Festival, primarily in Park City, is oftentimes the filmmakers are here. Oftentimes some of the stars or the subjects of the film come to the festival. And when you see them in Salt Lake City, you don't always get the stars to come out. So it was kind of a big surprise that we got Andrea and Megan out here to Salt Lake City for this. But yeah, so that was really special. They both were very touched by the way the film came out and the audience reaction, and here is a little bit of that.
It was truly the most loving artistic experience I think either Meg or I had ever had, and most of you probably know that it often takes a long time to make a documentary. So I figured we'd at least be filming for 2 years, and I thought we had another year to film when these showed up one day and basically said, so the film is done, and it got into Sundance. And I know that part of the reason it was completed so quickly is because they just worked their off so I could see the film too. And I just love these people so much. And I you hear people say that kind of stuff all the time, but truly we were in love with this group of people within a day.
As the sun sets on my time at the Sundance Film Festival for 2025, I want to say thank you very much to you guys for watching. If you are enjoying Laughing Place on Location, please like and subscribe this channel for more episodes, and we'll be coming to you next week from the EPCOT International Festival of the Arts, because we love a festival, and if nothing else, Sundance Film Festival is a festival of the arts.